some of the statistics came up, and we're seeing it's not just kids. It's actually adults, kids, all across the board. And really, even though I'm looking at this COVID-19 statistic, 62% of us work from home at this point. The reality is this isn't going to change post COVID. The numbers may change, but the working at home is here to stay for a while, at least for some of us. And we found that in most cases, it's actually not a bad thing. So we have to adapt our lifestyles so that we don't create pain in our body due to our workstation and our habits. All right. So that's basically what this is going to be about. As we go through here, you're going to see that all of this stuff is also relevant to back pain and neck pain that you see on a daily basis from other things. So this is actually a back neck pain seminar, but we're focusing a little bit about home workspace and workstations. All right. So you're going to have a lot here. We're going to go through it pretty quickly. Some of this stuff you may have already heard of. We're going to detail some ergonomic stuff. It should be a pretty fun seminar. So let's just jump right into it. Obviously, we have more people working at home. That's what this slide is about. We've seen a lot of neck, back, shoulder, and obesity problems. So we're going to take a look at what we need to do about that, and let's get into it. There we go. So I've done a few of these at this point, and I actually do enjoy this process, but I'm going to be honest with you. Zoom almost never goes flawlessly. So if you see some little pauses, or if I look like a deer in headlight every now and then, it's probably because we're working on the computer. So basically, these are the things that we're seeing. All right. So let's jump right into this. This is one that kind of gets skipped over. So we were looking at things like neck and back pain, shoulder pain, but I'm going to start off with one that most of you people haven't even thought about. All right. Especially if you're young and developing, your eyesight is critical. All right. Some of those focus oriented patterns that you're using with your phone right here and your computer right in front of you right here create the ability to see in the near very well, but it actually weakens your ability to focus in the far. All right. So what we see are some really basic exercises. It's just like anything else. If I wanted a bigger bicep, I do bicep curls. If I wanted my eyesight to work better or my focus patterns to be quicker and more accurate, I would use exercises to make that happen. All right. So these are really pretty basic. I mean, and the cool thing is that these pictures and the stuff on this slide is fairly clear. You will be getting a copy of the PowerPoint if you logged on. So you can use this in your daily living. It's really easy. We're looking at, just basically, let's say 3 sets of 10 of each of these, and that shouldn't take you much more than a couple minutes. We get it. My favorite is just take a thumb, focus on your thumb, focus in the far distance, enough focus that you could read something in the far distance, enough focus that you could read something on your thumb, back and forth 30 times ish. This is really basic stuff. Your eyes are important. All right. So as we go through this slide, I'm just going to let the slide speak for itself on how to do it because I think it is pretty basic. Also, we were talking about what we're going to go over in the next few slides, workstation mechanics. I'm going to talk about eyes, which we are. The other thing that you can do for your eyes, a lot of people don't know about this, but there are screen savers, screen covers, glasses, and now they're even coming out with programs that are blue blockers. These are things that just make it easier on your eyes to be staring at a computer or a phone for more than you probably should be, right? So basically, we're going to go over this again, but if you're sitting in your chair for more than 4 hours with your eyes on that screen for more than 4 hours, you are actively creating dysfunction. You have to get up and move. You have to do things to unwind those problems. So, workstation ergonomics. So if you work for a company, you work for the government, you work for a big business, you generally have somebody you can contact to talk to you about this stuff. If you're really lucky, you might even have somebody that will come to your house and go over some of this. These are specifics, all right? You can get into details of what's best for you. All of these are ranges, all right? the critical things that we usually do wrong. And we're going to talk about why laptops are really not the best answer, even though that's what we're all using. First and foremost, I need to be looking at either the top of my monitor or slightly under. I personally like to be looking at the middle of my monitor, but that means your monitor has to be pretty high. And then when you look at the 90 degrees on the elbow, that lady in yellow there, you're going to notice that that's actually a pretty decent distance between where your hands are going to sit and where your monitor is going to sit. So that's the fundamental problem with a laptop. Either your arms, which if they're too low or too high can cause neck and shoulder problems, either they're in the right place or your head's looking down. So something's wrong with a laptop. So either your hands are too high, hands are too low, or your head is too low. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. I want to point out quickly that probably the single best answer, if we can get away with it, is the gentleman on the bottom right. All right, this is a standing desk. This isn't new anymore. I think everybody's heard about this arrangement. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't even have to be a store-bought standing desk. They make props for your computer that hold it up on a regular desk. And they even make them where they'll go up and down, which will give you the ability to sit for a while, stand for a while, sit for a while, stand for a while, which is for most people the best answer, because standing in one spot with your knees locked out for 4 hours isn't really all that pleasant either. All right, checking in to see if there's any questions here.
Does the night mode of my screen help in the same way that blue light blocking glasses do?
That's a great question. Not one I can answer because I don't know the screen model or how old your computer is. I will say that the more modern computers are going in that direction. Also, there are programs that you can download onto your computer that will minimize the blue. But keep in mind that nothing's going to work quite as well as having either glasses or a screen protector. And none of those are expensive. This is the crazy thing. Blue blocker glasses are not expensive at all. But if you choose to do the program, do your research. This is something I didn't have time to get into as far as researching where and what to buy. The answer to your question is it should help, but I don't know if it goes as far to blue block.
And then Lisa wants to know wrist rest.
Wrist rest, excellent. That's actually coming up, Lisa. But since you said it, yes. Basically anything. So here's your wrist, right? Anytime you have to sit at this and do this all day long, especially the higher up your wrist gets, you're stressing out your hands. And this is where carpal tunnel comes from. So we have these little bitty discs. I should just get up and go get mine so you can see them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. We're going to check and see if there's any questions, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, so at any point, you all, if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. We check it periodically so Steve can answer them. But I think that was the last question.
So this is an excellent point. This is in here, but we'll go over it now. These bad boys, this is for my mouse, all right? What they do is they elevate the palm of your hand so that you're in more of a downward motion with your movement, all right? Usually people don't know these exist until they start getting carpal tunnel and their therapist or their doctor tells them to go get them. But you can preemptively make things a whole lot easier on your arms by just getting one of these for your mouse and a very similar one that's a little bit longer for your keyboard. If you are dealing with carpal tunnel, things do get a little more complicated because you're already in that pain loop. That's when you come see us. We're going to talk a little bit about that. There's a huge difference between preemptive maintenance and correcting problems. If you're already in that pain loop and you're feeling problems, you need to get in with one of our consults and see what we can do to help you, because these are all preemptive solutions, not corrective solutions, right? Now, they may work similarly, and you'll get an idea how that works when you come into the consult, but they're not the same thing. All right, so I talked about like the little angles and quick fixes and pads and stuff like that. Well, let's talk about perfection, right? If you have the money, the best way to set up your computer is these nice, pretty ways that you see over here. The one on the bottom is the best, all right? You still have a laptop, but now you have a monitor, which is bigger, so easier for your eyes. It can be set at whatever angle you choose to set it at, so you got better ergonomics. And the keyboard is the same. You can set the keyboard wherever you need it to be. You can also draw the keyboard closer to you and keep the monitor further away, which really, even though I have a bad habit of doing this all day long, you really shouldn't be right in front of your computer. They say actually 4 to 6 feet, by the way. That's actually not that close. So if you're looking at a computer monitor from 6 feet away, that means it probably needs to be pretty big. All right. Even 4 feet is somewhat straining if you're reading. So a bigger monitor isn't a bad thing, especially with some of the 15-inch laptops. It's you got to get way too close to that laptop to read fine print. So I know that this isn't optimal for everyone when we're talking about spending money on a monitor, spending money on a keyboard, but it just depends on how much time you're spending in front of that computer. If your work at home, school at home, and you plan on staying that way, this is just an investment in your health. So take it for what it's worth. This is the best way to go. And by the way, if you're a real tech nerd, that bottom screen, you can also use as a split screen and click and drag things from your main monitor to your laptop monitor and vice versa. And you can get a lot more done a lot quicker. But that's neither here nor there, just having fun with that. So I love this first one here. The top, I want to talk about this because it's all about posture, right? This is why we have these ergonomics. When we say we want your eyes to be looking at the top or just below the top of your monitor, what we're actually saying is that we want your neck to be in this posture, right? This is critical to understand because for every inch forward you roughly put 10 pounds on your cervical column, all right? You already got a 15-pound head, or if you're me, you probably got a 25-pound head. But the fact is the further forward you go, you're putting pressure on your cervical column. This is the fundamentals for long-term neck pain. And unfortunately, gravity is working against us. And if we're not careful, sooner or later it wins, all right? So when we're seeing this perfect posture, all right, here we go, perfect posture. This is ridiculous. How many people out there have perfect posture? I have met maybe in my entire career, a handful. And they usually have something in an industry that requires it, like modeling. So the fact is that we need to minimize these problems, all right? So that top diagram there, it shows how much pressure. So the pressure on your spine is how tall those columns are, all right? So what they're saying is if you have 20 pounds and you're holding it cleanly, that's the first 20 pound, then you have a little bit. You know, you see the light blue, see that 20 pounds goes away from the body, that's 20 inches, then you have more. Now you bend with the same posture and 20 inches and it gets critical, all right? So bending with the same posture with only 1 pound is harder on your back than standing with 20 inches and 20 pounds. But the one that's really frightening is 1 pound in perfect posture in a seated position is worse for your back than standing with 20 pounds 10 inches away from your body. This starts the idea that we're going to get into depth on. Sitting is not good for the human body, all right? We do it out of necessity, and over generations and eons, we have adapted somewhat to sit, but we are not designed to sit. The human body is designed to stand, walk, and lay down. Sitting is an unnatural position. It's supposed to be a pause in your day, not your day itself, right? And that right there is the fundamentals for most of the lower back issues, along with some of the neck issues as well. Having fun with the computer here. So I threw this out. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I want to drive home this point a little bit. I want you to get this PowerPoint and I want you to look over it in detail. I'm not going to go over this in a massive amount of detail because it's almost depressing, but I'm going to point out the far left diagram, the far left quote number. You are 50% more likely to die from all causes just because you sit for more than 4 hours a day. All right, we're talking cardiovascular, we're talking all kinds of different structural problems. They're basically Sitting is the new smoking is kind of a catchphrase. I'm not sure that it really is as bad as smoking, but nevertheless, the fact is that it is very bad for you. And we're starting to realize exactly how bad it is for you. And every year that we see the workplace environment convert more and more towards home, we're seeing more and more of these types of problems. So we need to put it in check. And that's what we're going to start today. Already got a little bit of that going on. Let's keep with it. So this is my pause intermission here. I want to go over this one more time. If you're already in pain, you don't have to live with pain, right? Some of these modifications may help, but if you're already in that pain cycle, what we're doing for people that thought enough to get in on this seminar is we're allowing them to have free consults with our doctors of physical therapy. All right. What that means for you is that you're going to get in here and we're going to get you a solution to this problem, whether it's coming in for sessions or whether it's going home with more information. It's catered to your needs and where you're at. But again, you don't have to live with pain. So when this is over with, stay on and get with one of our marketing people, Victoria, and give them a little, how are we going to do it this time? We're going to do it with the text.
Yeah, so Alexa will she'll explain all of this information. She's actually the one who does it. So at the very end, if you guys want to stick around, she'll explain how to get in, who to contact, how to contact them. So.
It's a no-brainer, really. If you're already living in pain and you're working behind a computer, it's not going to get better. So let's fix that problem. Enough with that. So let's move on. All right, we're going to check to see if there's any questions. I love the questions, by the way, folks. Don't be quiet out there. If you have something you're curious about, let me know. Oh, I love this question. I'm so glad. Who was it that said this?
Tara?
Tara. I'm so glad that you mentioned this. Does sitting on a balance ball or a Swiss ball or a physio ball, they get different names, make any difference? Absolutely, it makes it worse. All right. Here's the concept behind that. This is where it came from. All right. You can't sit on a physio ball in perfect posture without working hard. Right. So, from the point of view of practicing, let's say 20 minutes a day, if you want to sit on a physio ball for 20 minutes a day in perfect posture, you will get stronger. Your posture will get better. So, from that perspective, yes, it helps. But I'm telling you right now, coming from somebody who has very strong core and is decently in shape, the fact of the matter is you won't last for more than a half hour. All right. Maybe an hour if you are just rocking it. All right. Fact is, it's very, very difficult to do. So what we see is we see people commit to these physio balls, Swiss balls, balance ball, as their main source of seating. And by the time they get to the point where they're tired, they're slouching much worse than if they were just to have a chair that supported their back. In fact, we're going to go over seated dynamics. That's coming up here real quick. And it's fairly simple, but the concept is that there's perfect posture, but you can't do that all day. And then there's good enough posture, which is utilizing the chair. So with a physio ball, you're just not utilizing that back to your chair. So 20 minutes a day, maybe twice a day, great idea. All day, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. Looking more. The photo shows.
So the photo shows someone sitting up straight and looking at a monitor, but answering emails requires looking down at a keyboard. Do you have any suggestions?
My suggestion would be that you separate your keyboard from your monitor and you have a keyboard that you can put in front of you. Yes, you will have to look down at your keyboard. It's minimal time though. This is all time under tension. I don't know if you folks have heard that concept, time under tension. It's not looking down as bad. It's looking down for 4 hours. It's not slouching this bad. It's slouching for 4, 6, 8, and even more. It's not the fact that I'm on my computer. It's the fact that I don't get out of my chair every hour or so. All right. So it's time under tension. Separate your keyboard out. Look down if you need to type. I know I still do. But then when you're done and you're doing all your other stuff, get back into your good posture. All right. That's the answer to that one. And eventually, look, I'm getting better at typing too. At this age, I should be good, but I'm not. If you get better at typing, you'll get to the point where you don't have to look at the keyboard. It is what it is, though. So just minimize your downward view.
Right. And you had already answered Patty's question.
All right. So to understand why we need to do some of these things, I'm going to really quickly go over the anatomy. I know some people love geeking out on this and some people fall asleep. So I'm not going to go quick. I'm going to go quick. Excuse me. But basically, your entire spine is like you ever play Jenga? You know, it's stacked blocks, right? And those stacked blocks have ligaments and tendons that come together to hold everything together, right? Between each one of those stacked blocks are these discs. So that's the red and purple pieces in there, right? If you think about a disc like a jelly donut, the inside of the disc is soft and mushy, right? Not quite mushy, but it's softer. The outside is nice and hard, but kind of a bumper hard. It is a cushion. That's what its job does, all right? So if you can imagine pushing all of your weight forward, now all my spine is coming forward. Now all of the discs are getting pinched on the inside. So here's straight forward. Now everything on the corner is getting pinched. That's what causes protrusions of the disc. This is where the jelly in the donut gets pushed out of the donut. This is not a good thing. It does happen rapidly in some magic moment cases where you tried to lift something improperly, it was too heavy, and then, oh, it hurts. But more commonly, what we're seeing, especially with the workforce coming home, is that it happens over a long period of time. You got poor posture and you're just constantly time under tension again. You're pushing that front of the disc until finally pushing the front. Oh, it goes squirting out the back. Well, when that disc protrudes, if you look at the other image on there, the one on the right, you can see those little nerves, right? Well, yeah, everybody's heard it. I got the sciatica. Well, sciatic is the nerve. It's the big one on the bottom there. And that's the one that takes usually the brunt of lower body problems, but nerves run all the way up and down your spine. We also have nerves in our neck. And if we're constantly doing this number all day long, those discs in your neck can do the same thing. And those nerves can be either pinched or worse, right? So this is where we're seeing what we would call radicular pain, where I hurt my neck, but my arm hurts. I hurt my back, but my rear end or my leg hurts. Very common with these things. I just wanted to give you an idea how this works, right? Just some basics. If you have questions about anatomy, I love it. Hit me up, but I want to get into the solution a little bit more. All right, this is another view of that pinched nerve. Compressed nerve is probably a better verb. But either way, if a nerve is being pushed on, it becomes unnerved. There's my joke for the day. If you're lucky, you won't get another one. All right, so just another view of the same thing. All right, so this is where we're getting into the fix. I wanted to rush through the first part because this is why we're here. We're not here to talk about anatomy, although it is kind of cool. We're here to get into what the solutions to the problems are. And first things first, I didn't have a slide for this because I wanted to show you in person. So
Let me make it big.
Victoria is going to show you. It's going to focus in on me. Can you get? So yeah, of course I got the wrong shirt on for this, but so you can see the back to the chair. Okay. So here is perfect seating posture. All right. This chair is actually a little bit low for me, so I should be able to sit a little higher and let my feet barely point down. So, and then perfect back. So pinch the shoulder blades, tuck the chin, 90 degrees on the keyboard, right? This is perfect. And it feels great for about a half hour. If you're real strong, you might be able to keep longer than that. And then what happens? All right. My posture is not perfect, so I'm not preaching. But the fact is that, again, back to this time under tension thing, if I'm here, I have a lot of tension on my upper cervical column, my lower back, all of it in directions that it wasn't designed to go. It creates a forward head, it creates kyphosis, and it creates a minimizing of the lumbar curve, right? So that's the best way to do it as long as you can do it right. Now, the second to best and acceptable way is to get all the way into the back of your chair and use the chair to support your back. Even cheap chairs, I mean, this isn't cheap, but it isn't an expensive desk chair. Even inexpensive chairs have a lumbar curve. We're supporting that curve in your lower back so that you can get back and basically get back to alignment. Now my body, my head is basically sitting over my hips, all right, instead of out in front of my hips. So now everything is nice and relaxed. The good thing about this is that with just a little bit of attention to detail, you can maintain this most of the day. Now, to maintain this, I have to be looking at my keyboard, not at my keyboard. I have to have 90 degrees ish on my hands, not up here like the T-Rex arms, and not down in my lap either. Although the lap isn't nearly as bad, this is going to be the worst of the two. If I can maintain this and this, I'm good to go. All right. Now, having said that, it was in one of the previous slides and it'll be in another one. No matter how perfect your posture is, no matter how much you practice this, you have to get out of your chair. All right. This isn't made for the human body. You need to get up. My recommendation is every hour, 5 to 10 minutes, and it doesn't have to be anything special. I'm going to go over some exercises that stretches and stuff like that would be optimal. But even if you just got up and walked the dog, good stuff. The fact is that not all of us can. So you might have to just stand at your workstation every hour and maybe march in place, maybe do a couple stretches. If you can't leave your computer, at least leave your chair. All right. Your chair is not your friend. I can't emphasize that enough. All right. I'm going to be right back over there doing exercises in a minute, but let's see if we got any questions.
What's your dog's name?
That's Quinn, and Quinn thinks she's a action superhero, so she's probably going to get back in this scene at some point or another. Like I said, I'm moving today, so I had to bring everything with me, including the dog.
Any special brand of chair you would recommend?
Ooh, that's a good one. There are so many good chairs out there. I don't have a specific brand. Here's the problem. You can go down that rabbit hole and end up with $1,000 chair. So that's where I would say go on Amazon. Look at the reviews the chairs have. Don't just look at the price, because the price point on chairs, I recently did this and got a nice office chair for home. We got it at a secondhand store, and it is a very nice office chair. It's a little dirty, but who cares, right? But in the process, we started looking at some of the brand new chairs out there. Oh my, you can very literally spend $1,000 on a chair. As far as ergonomics are concerned, you're not getting a better chair, maybe a little bit, but the fact is you can get a very, very good chair for $150, $200. And that's not cheap either. I chose to take the route of getting a used chair because I didn't want to spend $200 on a chair. Nevertheless, look at the reviews, go online and do some research, because there are literally thousands of chair companies. So I'm not going to get into brands. Such a great deal. All right, onward and upward. Yeah. All right, so I struggled with this because there are a lot of good exercises to go over, and I decided to just break this up into stretches and exercises, because the stretches are they're both important, but I think the stretches are a little easier. They're a little more convenient to do throughout your day. The exercises are going to be more something that you structure time throughout your week, like 2, 3, 4 times a week, where the stretches are going to be something that if you're sitting behind a computer for more than 4 hours, you're going to need to do every day. All right. So none of these are terribly complicated. Let's go over the next stuff real quick, because I don't need to move for most of this. All right. So the first one you see over there on the right. So the lady in the pink sports bra, the first one is a movement drill, right? It's really more or less designed to get you warmed up. So, all right. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it's not static, all right? I just want you to understand, it's real easy to understand stretches in a picture when they're static. That one is the only one that is not static, it is moving, all right? So the second one, again, pretty obvious. Those are 2 different stretches on the second level. One is what we would call an upper trap stretch. Now she's got her arm behind her. Really, you just need to pin your arm. So if you take your arm and put it down on something that weighs something, that works too. Put it on a table, that works too. Put it behind your back, for sure that works. Put it on a table, that works. So, key thing to understand, stretches require 30 seconds. And that's 30 seconds with a relaxed muscle. If you are flexing that muscle, or if that muscle is engaged to hold you up or to balance you while you're stretching it, you're going to get minimal results. Stretching can be done 100 times a day, but really, if you're not doing it at least once a day, you're probably not going to get very far. And I would encourage you to do it twice a day. You need to be warmed up. Warm up doesn't require you running around the block. Like on the neck stretches, basically, is you could just do neck rotations, just or the one that they have on there. Basically, you're just getting a little bit of basic blood flow into those muscles before you decide to stretch them. So the second one on the second row is a levator scapulae stretch. So here we got our upper trap. All right, the levator, I turn my head and then I look down as though I had a pocket. Like if I had a shirt pocket, I'm looking into my shirt pocket and a little overpressure. And you'll feel this, the upper trap, you'll feel right across the middle. The levator, you'll feel going down from the back of your ear to the top of your shoulder blade, right? All of these for 30 seconds at a time, right? The second one is fairly simple. I mean, there's nothing really to that. It's just a rotational stretch. I will say on this one, minimal pressure. Don't try to crack your neck. Not that that does a lot of damage, but you can't hurt yourself if you push too hard, right? Last one there, sternocleidomastoid, otherwise known as SCM, right? Again, if I'm looking down all day long, the muscles in the front of my neck get shorter and shorter. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the top of my pec, I'm pulling it down. This is also a scalene stretch, depending on how you do it, but up and away. I love this one. It actually feels good. Even if you don't pull down, you'll feel some of it, but pulling down really engages it. So up, chin towards ceiling, rotate, good stuff, right? So back and hip stretches, right? So I'm gonna go, these are pretty obvious. So I'm gonna go over the two that are really, I'll go over a few of them. All right, I got my handy dandy yoga table back here. So first and foremost, piriformis. Cross your legs, knee comes cross body to the shoulder. 30 seconds. Feels good too. Rotational movement drill, long trunk rotation. In that video, they had the upper body going in the opposite direction. That's fine. That gives a little bit extra. If you don't want to do the bottom is most of the exercise. Going as far as you can without going into painful ranges, right? And going to the ground for this one. So this is one of the more important ones you can do, right? When you're seated, this is the position of your body, right? All of the muscles in the front of your legs that cross your hips, our hip flexor muscles, are getting put on slack for hours and hours. So when we do this, it's probably easier to see what's happening from here. So I got hips going forward, right? So I'm not lunging forward, I'm hipping forward. And I have some tight hip flexors. I need to be doing this myself. So understand that this isn't a lecture here. This isn't me telling you what to do because I don't do it either. This is me saying that we all need to do this more. I stretch plenty, but I need to stretch more on this. It is very tight. So again, 90 degrees. You can certainly do this on a bed or on carpet or on a pillow because even this kind of hurt my knee. And then forward. Easy peasy. All right, these are going to be quality moments to take a break and look at questions because the next thing I'm going to do is go into exercises. So let's see what we got here.
How to best relieve stress from a long hour in a car.
Long hour in a car? All right, exactly the same. Exactly the same. There's no difference. When we talk about long road trips, long ago, I made the decision to never be in a car for more than 2 hours, all right? Meaning I always get out. And it's the same thing. You know, your hamstring stretch, which are all on that PowerPoint, the hip flexor stretch for sure, right? And then just generally getting out every 2 hours or less and doing something. Go around, hit a stop that you didn't need to hit. I mean, we had to get gas and food and all that, but every now and then you just need to stop for your maintenance, all right? That's the biggest thing people do wrong when they drive. And we all do it. I drove to Colorado in November, I think it was November, and I came back and my back hurt for 2 weeks, all right? So again, I know what to do, and I chose not to do it because I wanted to get home. So these are things that are very, very easy to correct. It just requires you put a little bit more time in your scheduling because you're going to need it. Get out of that car. That's it. It's really that simple.
Is there anything you can do off desk when you're on your phone throughout the day?
Not off desk.
So like this, like on your phone.
Oh,
Like,
you know, I really didn't plan on hitting the phone with this one, but that's a good one because I don't have my phone. Let me see here. I love that cactuses, right? So the main thing is this is where we're at on our phone, right? I don't know where that came from because when we used to be on phones, it used to be here, but now it's all screen time. So nobody's going to like this solution, but here's your reality. You need to get up here, right? You need to use your phone like the monitor that we were talking about earlier. Where do you put your monitor? Your eyes should be at the top of your monitor. Where do you put your phone? Your eyes should be at the top of your phone. Guess what this will also do? Because you have to hold your hands out in the air, you're probably going to be on your phone less, which, yeah, you should probably be on the phone less.
that'd be lovely. All right. Any further questions? We can wait a second and see.
Okay, we'll stop again after the exercises too. So we're,
Do you PowerPoint?
yeah. All right. So exercises. The great thing about the neck, I'm not going to put a bunch of exercises in with the neck because most of those are going to be postural related. That's going to be the next slide. It's a lot less. It's important, but there are a lot less of them. With the back, it's not exactly just the back. We're not talking about strengthening the back. You feel pain in your back. It's because you didn't stabilize it correctly or you were in the bad posture or usually both. But the pain in your back isn't because your back specifically is weak. The pain in your back is generally because your core muscles, your lateral hip muscles are weak. All right. So yes, we deal with the back. If you see number 4 and number 3, those are primarily back, but they're also glute exercises, which is very important for stabilizing the hips. Right. So we want the hips to have a proper shift. They don't want to be tilted forward. Or they don't want to be tilted backwards. Right? So that the glutes, medial glutes, the lateral glutes, and posterior glutes are going to be some of the more important things for making your back bomb proof or pain proof. And core, obviously, I think you guys probably know this. It's almost a bad cliche. You have to have a strong core to maintain decent lower body posture. We see this in all types of scenarios. I mean, you know, working at a physical therapy office, back pains is still one of, if not our number one problem. And we see it coming from all directions, but there is a common thread with all of it. You don't see too many people that have a strong lateral hips and strong core coming in here with back problems. Not to say it doesn't happen, but it's far more rare. So there is a common thread. Let's talk about what these things are and how we get better at them. All right, so I'm going to tell you right now, I personally dislike planks, but they work, right? There seems to be this correlation between things that work and things we don't want to do. So just be that as it may. Planks are fairly simple. You can start with a plank on your knees and you can get plenty out of it. So here is a very easy plank. Harder, harder, harder. Hardest, right? Don't need to really demonstrate much here. I just wanted you to see that there is a progression. If you can't do a plank from your knees, then do it off the table. All right, got an angle here, right? Plank off the table. All right? This is, and if that's too hard, plank off the wall, right? So a plank, somewhere in that plank, there's something that you can do. There is a progression you can do, right? So the swimmers, some people call them Supermans, hands out, right arm, left leg. Left arm, right leg. That's simple. One of my favorites for all around back strength is a bird dog. Now, that's good. Perfect. This is okay. Perfect is here. Notice my hips are flat. I think I wore too big of a shirt today, so you can't see some of the details here. Good. Perfect. All right. All right. So core. This is one of the most important concepts. we think of core, that is a ton of muscles that go through the middle of the body. It's your hips, it's your abs, it's your obliques. It's all of these things that hold your center of your body together. It links the top of your body to the bottom of your body. It's how we manage ground force. So when you're walking forward, if your core wasn't engaged, you'd be like a noodle, right? So your core is super important for everything. But what we're really looking at is transverse abdominis, right? Which is a big flat core muscle that goes around the transverse part of your stomach, or horizontally, is kind of shaped like a weight belt, connects to your hips, connects to the linea alba, or that little line down the middle of your abs, right? And it holds your guts in. Well, it also holds your spine tight, right? So when we look at that, it's kind of a weird concept because you can't just flex your transverse abdominis. You can't just go, no. What you can do is you can draw your belly button down to the table and trick your body into engaging it. The other way to do it is to purse your lips and blow out. Everybody that's on the seminar right now, take a second, because nobody's watching you. Tighten up your lips so tight you could barely get air out and blow out. That's your transverse abdominis flexing. If you can do that, that's the fundamentals for a contraction of your transverse abdominis. With that, you can add marching. You can add harder exercises. But generally, it starts with drawing that belly button down to the table and getting transverse abdominis engaged. All right. So looking at some of the lateral hips, here's the thing, folks. If I was doing an entire seminar on back pain, this would be a lot longer seminar. All right. So I'm going to save lateral hips for those of you who are having back pain that isn't specifically due to workplace environment. And in general, if you're at that point, you need to come see us. I hate to keep saying that, but it is important that if you're already feeling pain, that you get it taken care of. But there is an aspect to this that isn't going to be in this seminar, and that's the lateral hip strengthening. All right. I'm so lucky to have tech support. It makes my life so much easier. So, yeah. All right. I said neck we're going to hit, but it's so much easier. Not easier, less complicated. So, this is the most concise picture I could find of a chin tuck, but that is the ugliest picture ever. I think they're trying to make the concept that, yeah, you're going to create a double chin if you're doing it right. You don't particularly have to push with your finger. It's just a cueing device that helps you understand or feel that it's actually happening. So these are pretty clear pictures. So chin tuck. The other way to think about a chin tuck is, okay, I got this necklace on, right? If I wanted to show off that necklace, I would push my chest up and out, right? I'm not even thinking about my neck. If I push my chest up and out, my neck goes back, right? So either way you think about it, maybe a string on the top of your head and you push in and pull up, you're not looking down. Take that string in the back of your head, right? Or if it's easier to think of, take the emblem on your necklace and show it off. Either way, that's a chin tuck. Scapular pinch. That looks like this. The only thing you can really do wrong with this, it's not a complicated concept, but we do tend to elevate our shoulders when we do that. Don't want that. That's reinforcing tightnesses that we don't need or want. So none of this. I want back. And if you can add down to it, even better. So both of these are exercises that we generally do in the clinic for about 5 seconds, about 20 times, and about twice a day. Even if you did these once a day, it's a huge improvement. So ease yourself into it, find what's comfortable for you, but do it. All right. So those are the general exercises. Let's go back to the chat.
Oh, can you demonstrate it again and I'll make it where you don't see this?
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Which ones do we want to go through?
The neck, just the neck. That was the only one.
The neck. So again, I actually have something on my necklace here. So if I wanted to show this off, I would show everybody my necklace. Look, my necklace. When I do that, I naturally, my body instinctively draws in, right? So push your chest out, your neck goes back, right? Or you can think about having a string on the back of your head, pushing on your chin, pulling on the string, right? What I don't want to happen is looking down, and that's counterproductive. It's back, string goes up, chin goes back. All right, scapula, scap retractions are just straight back, no elevation, just straight back. And if you can do a little down motion with it, that's a bonus, right? Then, if you really want to get efficient, take some time, a little bit of practice, do them both at the same time. They don't have to be separate exercises. In fact, the end game is to hold both of these positions ongoing throughout the day. That's why it requires so much endurance in these muscles to hold a good posture, because we need to hold it every hour you're sitting behind the computer. So that would look like shoulders back, down, chin back, hold for 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And do that 20 times. A little tedious, granted, especially when we got the isometric holds, but not hard. You just got to do it. So,
Can you also do the plank progression again?
sure, I like this one anyway. So, plank progression. So, easy, right? I could even go easier and put it on a wall, but this is pretty easy, right? So from there, I go to my knees. This is almost on all fours at the beginning of the progression, because this is really, really easy, but I'm still doing that T8 contraction that you can't see because my shirt's too baggy, but I'm holding that stomach in, the belly button up, while I sit here like this, and it gets harder and harder. And then once I get to the point where I can hold almost a full plank on my knees, then I just go to my feet. And by the way, there are progressions beyond that. Lots of progressions beyond that. I'm doing this for basic maintenance. If you want to talk to me about strength and conditioning, or if you want to get better at a specific item, we actually do personal training here. So you can get with one of our marketing people and talk about getting in and maybe doing some specifically strength oriented items to lose weight, flatter stomach, better at a sport. We are very good at that and would love to help you.
Do you have a modification for hurt deltoid muscle of the back bones?
Okay, so if you have a shoulder injury already, is what they're saying. How do I do some of those? Well, again, I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but if you have a deltoid injury, you can get yourself in here. We'll take care of both of the problems, because whenever we deal with shoulders, there's an aspect of core that's involved with that. So you stay online after the seminar's over and get in here, get an appointment to get in here. Shoulders are a real pain in the butt. They tend to pop up and take a long time to recover. So let us help you with that. But the short answer is the TA drills. So when we're talking about that TA, drawing your belly button in, we can do it at the table, but I can also do it right here. And I'm doing it right now. You almost have to breathe through your nose to do it because you're tightening everything down. You'll notice the diaphragmatic breathing. All right. You don't have to be somewhere. Because this is an isometric contraction, you get out what you put out. All right. So if you're contracting hard, you're going to get a good exercise out of it. So the easiest way to make sure that that happens is to start by hit the bottom line stuff. And when you run out of progressions with the stuff that you can do, either get in with us or get online, because progressions, when you have already an injury, they can get a little tricky.
When we do exercises on our back, is it good to hold the head of the mat? It hurts my neck when I do that.
Good. So, okay, we do run into this every now and then. So you're actually probably talking more about core exercises because you're on your back and you have to lift your head up. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, because that's the complaint I get most of the time. If you're talking about being on your front and it hurts to hold your head into alignment, that's actually a bigger problem. That means you really need to work on some of those muscles that hold your head up. All right. So either one of those, the answer is do as much as you can until it hurts, and then alternate or change it. All right. So like when we do, I don't know, when we do any kind of like not even a sit up, but like a crunch or anything we're folding forward for abs, for example. A lot of times people will talk, well, the abs are getting work, but my neck, every time I get up, it hurts. Put a towel behind your head and hold it with your hands. All right. I don't want to see you going cranking forward because that's going to cause other problems. But if you need to support your head, go without the support as long as you can so you can develop the strength that you don't have enough of. And then when you no longer can do it without pain, use something to support the area that hurts. That's the basic concept. If it's the other way around, like you're in a bird dog position, like what we are doing earlier, the left arm, right leg, and it hurts to hold your head back, all right? So at that point, I mean, really, you just need to do as many bird dogs as you can with your head in that proper position because those muscles are extremely important. And that's a big portion of why we're doing that. We like that exercise because it works neck and back. So it works the entire posterior chain, actually. So hopefully that answers your question. The reality is it kind of depends on whether you're talking about face down or face up. All right. So this is just an overview. I'm just trying to put some of this into some hard numbers. How do we fix this problem? Fix your workspace. Fix your workspace. All right. Get things ergonomically aligned. That is the easiest thing you can do to create a solution. I mean, maybe you spend some money, maybe you don't. My monitor's got a couple textbooks underneath it that I rarely open up. So I didn't even buy a monitor stand. I mean, shoe boxes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't require money. If you want to spend money to make it fancy, there's better options. But the fact is, fix your workstation and you will already have moved into the solution. Get up and move every hour. Boy, I've said this a bunch today. I can't say it enough. Like somebody asked earlier about road trips, it's the same thing. You can't sit for hours on end and expect your body to jump up and feel wonderful. It just isn't going to happen. And the older you get, the harder it is to do that. All right. Your body is not made to sit. All right. So get up and move. It's actually not a bad thing. Go walk the dog. Right. Stretches should be done once a day or more. All right. I didn't give a lot of stretches for a reason. I could have given a whole page of stretches, but my point is if you just do the ones that you see, that's good enough. That'll get you going. If you find that it's not enough or that you're still dealing with problems, come in and see us. We can add to that program. We can get you some work done in the clinic. Do your exercises 3 times per week. All right. Generally, we're looking at 2 sets of 15, moving up to 3 sets of 20. But really, we get bogged down in the numbers a lot when we start talking about exercises. Oh, should I do 4 sets of 101 pounds or 5 sets of 102? We want to look at something. If we're doing 2 sets or if we're doing 3 sets, that's a natural progression. We start with 2 sets. When that gets easy, we go to 3 sets, right? Inside of that 2 sets, when I start, I should have a rep count. I should have a difficulty level where the last few are very, very difficult. If I'm running through all 30 of them and I don't feel like I did anything, you need to either go to 3 sets or you need to find an exercise that's harder. A lot of the exercises I gave you are fairly basic, but the reality is that if you're doing them for time or you're doing them consistently, they'll still get you strong. They'll start the ball rolling. But if you're already fairly strong and want to get stronger, you're going to probably need some advice on a little bit more difficult, especially core items. Good news, folks, is if you do this stuff, your core gets strong fairly quick. It's one of the sets of muscles in your body that gets stronger faster than the rest. So if you do it, you'll see change. You'll see things happen, but you got to do it and you got to do it consistently. And I mentioned 3 times a week. That's minimal. I mean, 2 times a week, if you're right where you want to be, you don't want to get any better, you're not in pain, and you just want to maintain. All right. 3 times a week is I need to get stronger, right? Or more, right? You're going to get there faster if you do more. Just keep in mind you do need recovery. If you're feeling beat up or sore, you probably need to take some time off. And again, with this concept, these are maintenance. These are not solutions to pain. All right. If you're already in that pain loop, especially when it comes to the spine, you need to break that cycle before you can get into some of these maintenance items. And that's where we come in as a company. We are offering this free to the people on this seminar. We do these things because we are a part of this culture. This is our city. Tucson is where we're from. We want to make sure people don't have to come see us. That's why we do these free seminars in the first place. And if you're hurt, that's why we're here. we don't want to see our Tucsonians in pain, or anyone for that matter, but you know, it is Tucson. So let's go back. I think that's it. Oh, maybe one more. Of course.
All right, let's see if you guys have any questions. So that was the last one. Alexa, do you want to talk about how to get in for a consult?
Yeah, so if you're interested, you can go ahead and put your name in the chat box and we will give you a call on Monday. If you don't feel comfortable putting your name in the chat box, I'll put my email address in here. And you can just shoot me an email. And then we'll have our intake department give you a call next week. And then I will also be sending out the presentation. Yeah, I think that's just the presentation, I think, this time.
Everyone loves Quinn.
Okay, that's my email. And yeah.
Thanks a lot, folks. Don't know if you can hear me right now, but
Yeah.
I had fun.
Good job, Steve. That was very informative.